Go for a walk in the woods. The smell of the damp forest floor, the sound of the wind through the branches, the landscape as it changes through the seasons make me feel that all is right with the world, even if in human terms everything seems to be going wrong. This time of year is really lovely, the paths cast with orange through the fallen leaves. And I'm clearly not alone in this sentiment because there were quite a few people wandering in the forest on Friday. It makes sense. This is Thanksgiving weekend. I find walking among the trees to be a great way to pause with gratitude and a great way to feel grounded again. I say again because at this time it feels anything but grounding right now. Instead, it's easier to feel mournful as we recall Thanksgiving's past, or to start fretting over what the Christmas is going to be like, or if our fears are true, not like this year. Now, some anxiety is understandable. A capacity for worry is, after all, hardwired into us. Our ancestors, well, they had to be vigilant for the danger behind every tree. And as we face an invisible threat, we need to be careful not to give in to despair. Even constant low-grade anxiety takes its toll on both our mental and our physical health. In the short term, we need a healthy fight or flight response. But constantly being on the alert, it affects more than just our mood. It impacts our sleep, our digestion, even our immune response. And a compromised immune system is not what any of us needs right now. Thankfully, Jesus offers us an antidote to this. Consider the birds and wildflowers, he says. They don't build barns or weave clothes, yet they are taken care of. His words are an invitation to trust, to recognize that what we need is at hand. Now, he's not telling us not to work or to plan, but we really easily get stuck focusing on the future all the time. We need to be aware that his teaching comes just after another caution about serving both God and wealth. That urge in us to accumulate reflects a focus on the future, a desire to save for a rainy day and perhaps 40 more of them. He invites us to be like birds and wildflowers, to be more often in the moment. Because when we only look ahead, we miss what's right underneath our nose. And that's what the boy in The Alchemist discovers on his journey when he goes to find the treasure that he dreamed about. After many adventures and meeting various people, he discovers that the treasure he was looking for was back home. And when he digs it up, he also realizes that the adventures he'd been on were also the treasure. Seeing the pyramids, meeting people like that fortune teller, none of that would have been his experience if he hadn't been led to believe that the treasure was going to be in Egypt. The treasure we all need is wherever we are, and what's right before us, cherished in our hearts. This awareness is the very heart of gratitude. It's being conscious of all that we experience, all of the good as well as the bad. The many kind gestures we experience in a day and not just the one or two irritations. We often fixate on negatives. But when we do, we're not being really realistic about our experience. Before I went on that walk on Friday, I read the newspaper. And so as I walked along, I was pondering an article I read about politicians. But my walk was more than that. My day was more than that. It was being in the woods with Finley. It was colored leaves all around me. It was pleasant encounters with the other people who were sharing the woods on that day. It was also, as I discovered, a flood of memories triggered by being in the woods on Thanksgiving weekend. Out of the blue, as I was finishing up my walk, I remembered how when I was small, my family would often go camping in Killbear Provincial Park on Thanksgiving weekend. And that one memory triggered another specific one. This was of a skit with me as the face and my sister as the arms as she combed my hair and brushed my teeth. It all became a moment of gratitude for me. Gratitude for my family, for the ability to go camping, living in a beautiful country, still being able to have memories. Now, it was bittersweet as well because it brought to mind that my mom's no longer with us and my struggle with grief for so long. But all of my experiences have shaped who I am, led me to my life as it is right now, to that walk in the forest, to this moment in worship. I'm grateful for it all, even for the heartbreak. And I trust that one day I'll be able to look back on this time that we're all experiencing with a similar vein. We just need to get through it all first. Cultivating gratitude, like taking time before bed to take stock of the day. Keeping a gratitude journal. Pausing on a walk to simply appreciate what is right in front of you. These are an important practice in our world right now. We naturally feel drawn to the negative, especially if someone hurts us or something bad happens in our day. But we need to clear the negativity once in a while. Focusing on a past hurt, fretting over future worries, they don't just possibly lead us into despair, they can make us angry. Anger in the service of justice, that's legitimate. But I think we all admit that we're living in a very angry age. And anger deepens the divisions between us, makes it more difficult for us to hear each other with openness. And gratitude helps shift all of this feeling. It turns out that when we think about things that we're grateful for, the frontal lobe of our brain is highly activated. Like that string of gratitudes as I walked along in the forest. This is the part of the brain that controls critical thinking. And so it's been found out that when we pause more often in gratitude, we slow down that more reactive, emotive part of our brain. Gratitude helps us to not get carried away with anger. And that, I think, would help a lot right now. Furthermore, when we pause in gratitude, we do more than consider birds and wildflowers. We also help to protect them. I don't know if you think about this, but when you're angry or feeling blue, if you're like me, you're apt to buy something. And yet retail therapy never, ever helps. It's more constructive, therefore, to want what you have rather than to have what you want. And when we focus on what we have, I mean really focus, we discover, to paraphrase Paulo Coelho, that the simple things really are the most extraordinary. The rich purple of a wild aster, the chirp of a wren as it flies overhead, that warmth in your hands when you're holding a cup of coffee after a walk, the trust in your dog's face as you pick out the seeds from his fur, the love of a sister even though she now lives miles away. All of these are simple, extraordinary, and not what money can buy. Taking time to ponder these kinds of gifts, they help us to realize the treasures right in front of us. They help us to recognize what we need to take care of. And they help us to realize that we don't need as much as we have. We discover that we can simplify more, and many of us realize how we can help others. And in the end, we learn to appreciate the natural treasures that are all around us, treasures that won't be with us as long as we're focused on ever consuming more. So on this Thanksgiving weekend, let's take Jesus' words to heart. Consider the birds and the wildflowers. They're a rich reminder of the power of gratitude to ground us, to reshape minds, to soften hearts, to heal our world. So may we pause in gratitude today and every day. It's simple and extraordinary when we do. Amen.